Okay, hello everyone. It looks like everyone who's probably attending has joined us now. So as I mentioned before, this is our project management and task reporting webinar. It's building on what my colleague Jess would have talked about last week in our scheduling and task assignment webinar. You can still access that recording and I'll show you where you can find that. But today we're going to be looking at more searching for job data and staying on top of job and task statuses and timelines. So my name is Laura Johnston. I'm a customer success manager here at Function Point. Some of you may have worked with me directly in the past. I am joined by Jess Bird, who's also a customer success manager, and she will be in the background handling any questions you'd like to submit. You'll see on your GoToWebinar panel, you should have a little questions box that you can type those into, and if there's anything she thinks would be valuable to have me address on screen, I'll be periodically checking in with her and she'll let me know about those. Okay, so our agenda for today, we'll start by going through just some general best practices in the system, finding job data, some dashboard options, and then we'll go into taking a look at our resources link as well as our work planning view for some of that on-screen forecasting. And we'll look at a couple of useful reports for mostly task management and task assignment. Okay, and I guess I jumped a little bit ahead of myself before, but so questions, I'll just say again, make sure you're submitting those as they come up for you and we'll do our best to answer them. Either Jess will answer them in the background or I'll address some of those on screen. Okay, and so learn more. I'll show you where you can access this in the system, but so we are currently doing this webinar series, but we do have all the recordings from the past webinars in this series as well as earlier series that we've done in the past. So I'll show you where you can find those from the system, as well as accessing our support and accessing our FP library, which we fondly call the Google of FP. And finally, our next session, we're taking a bit of a break for the holidays, as I hope you all get some time off as well. So our next session will be on January 10th, and that will be on retainer setup and best practices. So make sure you're signing up for that, and you'll see that link pop up on the login screen probably in the coming weeks here. Okay, so just checking in before we get started. Jess, are you able to hear me okay? Have any questions rolled in that I should address yet?
No questions yet, but I have noticed that somebody's got some music playing in the background, so if you could kindly just turn that off for us, that would be great. Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, so now I'm in my Function Point demo system. This is likely what most of you will see by default when you're logging in to Function Points. And just as I was speaking a little bit about how you can access past webinars and our FP library, I will just note that right from this eye in the top right-hand corner, you'll see training will take you to our FP library. Webinars will take you to recordings of past webinars as well as a sign-up page and schedule for future webinars. And of course, most important, contacting our wonderful support team. If you are in the system and have any technical questions come up or something doesn't look like it's working quite right, you can contact them directly from here. Okay, so we'll start diving in a little bit here. So what I want to start with is just sort of searching for job data and some of our best practices there. So I'm going to hover over my jobs module and I'll click on Find Job. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this screen. We really like to talk about our find routines in the system as a type of custom reporting. But I wanted to focus on a couple of fields in particular today. So one I'm going to draw your attention to is the job contact field. You'll notice this is an open field and it gets populated in a couple of ways. So I do have two custom fields turned on right now called Client Lead and Lead Creative. And those are ways really at the estimate level to make sure someone automatically becomes a job contact. So where we'll see those is on our Add Estimate page. I'll just open this up to demonstrate. Anyone who's entered as an AE on this Add Estimate page, as well as if they're entered as a client lead or lead creative, will automatically become job contacts. So they'll automatically be linked to that job and you'll be able to search for jobs by their involvement. If you aren't seeing these two fields on your own screen, you can turn those two on by going to Admin, System Setup, and then System Preferences. And that will be under our Track tab here, and just checking off the lead contacts checkbox will then enable those for you to take a look at. Okay, so navigating back to my job finds, I could search by client lead, lead creative, or AE on their own, but I'm just going to search by job contact in general. So I want to know what's the list of current active jobs that I'm involved with right now. So I'll search by Laura. And one other thing I'll note is that I'm going to search by find active. So you have two options at the bottom with any combination of fields you're searching with to either find active or find jobs. So find active is considering the status of the job. So you may have statuses more than this that are set to be an alias of something like open or closed. And so anything that's set in an alias of open is considered active. So we really want to see just current jobs that are open that we're currently working on. So I'll choose active, whereas find jobs might bring up canceled or closed jobs. Okay, so I've got a list of a couple of jobs here. And on this find screen, there's a couple of ways I can change the results and what I'm looking at. So the first thing I'm going to note is manage columns. There's quite a lot of information we can add or take away here. So for instance, right now I've got a lot of dollar values showing for me. And if I'm actually more interested in the hours, maybe I'll get rid of my financial information and I'll add in that hours data. And I'll change the order a little bit as well, move my edit pencil to the end, and saving that will then apply that to my search results here. So that's something that I could easily print off as a find list that's going to print as a PDF for us, or you can always choose to export these views into Excel and maybe even do some further manipulation and calculations with that. The other key item I want to note here is our editable list view. If you've attended our webinars in the past, you have likely seen us bring this one up. It's a great trick we like to show because there's 3 items on this page that then become editable. So the job status, the delivery date, and the date description. So clicking into my date description, we typically recommend using this as sort of a where's that job right now? So just a current state of what you're working on, maybe what's coming up next for that job. So maybe we were reviewing our design layout and I'll maybe note that we've confirmed. Okay, so I could, in theory, go through. Right now I'm looking at all the jobs I'm involved with because we filtered our search by that. So I could go through all the jobs that I'm in contact on, make sure I've got a status update on those, and then print that out as a PDF. And this might be something I take to a meeting and I show up prepared with a list of my jobs and the current status on each of those and maybe what's coming up next. So that's a really handy trick to go in and update. I guess I should check in, Jess. Are there any questions coming in yet that you'd like me to answer?
Nope, not so far. So for those of you out there that are just being shy, get your questions in. Come on now.
Yeah, I promise Jess isn't as scary as she sounds. Okay, so the next area we'll take a look at is our function point dashboards. So these are quite customizable. You can have as many different views as you'd like. Right now, mine is just set to the classic view. So if it's your first time logging in or you've never changed your dashboard layout around, this is likely what you're seeing. There is a great tile on here already, and that is the task to-dos for taking a look at tasks that are maybe assigned by me, to me, or both. Taking a look at tasks in different statuses, I can update these filters here and search. But maybe if I'm in more of a project manager role or a traffic manager, I want to take a look at a little more task information than is showing on the smaller task and to-dos tiles. So I have set up another dashboard that gives that tile a little bit more screen real estate. And you can set yours up to look like this if you'd like by going into customize dashboards and choosing your layout and tiles. So now that we've given this tile the entire half of our screen here, it does give me some additional filtering options. So I can select staff right now. You can see I've selected all of my designers. So I'm really just taking a look at tasks that all of my designers are currently working on. So any tasks assigned to that group of individuals. I'm looking at open assigned in progress. So that's by default the status it's going to bring here. There are some other really useful filters we can use. One I would say to keep on top of and monitor is open and overdue, going through making sure that you may be chasing down those people who either haven't updated the status of their tasks or are falling a little bit behind. And on the flip side, if you're really ahead of the game, maybe looking at starting soon and getting a jump on some of those tasks that are coming up in the next week. And finally, the last filter here is searching by, you can search by job numbers, titles, task descriptions, descriptions. So the example I was going to use, and it looks like it was already in there for me, is I'll search by our largest client. So for us, that's Great Atlantic Insurance, and their abbreviation is GAD for some reason. Let's see, Great Atlantic. All of a sudden I can't spell when I know people are watching me. So this has now brought up a list of all of our tasks for Great Atlantic Insurance. So I can go through and see where we're at. So sorting by the next task coming up for them, we can see we're doing production for their internal signage. And around that time, we're also working on sketching and roughs for their annual report. So that might be something that I want to take a look at how we're moving along with those tasks. So you can see the estimated hours, so how much time we've allocated for those compared to the actual time tracked to these tasks so far. And then the variance, so how much time they have left to complete those tasks. This variance percentage will update based on those numbers. So we can see that based on the time tracked, who do we have assigned to? Jimmy should be 22% done his production task here. With that, there is this other field that is manually updated. So this percent complete is more of the gut feeling of how far along an individual is with a task. So for instance, Jimmy might look like he's done 22% of this task based on the time he's tracked, but if it's ending up being a little more complicated, he could manually update his percent complete to maybe just be 10%. So that's really letting us know how much longer we can expect that to take him. And finally, status updates. So we can go through and mark tasks as completed if in our meeting, they just haven't moved the task over and we know that those are actually finished off. We can go through and update those right from this screen. So this is a great sort of baseline for looking at task information, and there's a couple of options to update and manage tasks right from this tile. If we're looking more from the job level, we can come to this tile, which is our jobs by company summary. So by default, the companies that's showing me here are our top 5 clients based on the number of jobs we're doing for them currently. And you can pick and choose if that's not how you'd like to have your jobs display and your clients display here. So right now mine's looking through all jobs and giving me the top 5. I can choose just jobs that are my jobs, so jobs I'm a job contact on, or I can do a custom selection. So I could come through and maybe choose other companies I'd like to see. And finally, right now it's turning orange, so telling us we're approaching budget at that 80% of budget. But maybe if we want to know a little bit earlier than that, so if we want to know when we're halfway through a job based on the budget, we can change that as well. So I'll click cancel for now. And what that's showing us is for Great Atlantic Insurance, we have 7 jobs that are within budget, 1 job that's currently over budget. And if I want a little more information about what that specific job is, I can always click right into this dashboard tile and it will bring me up a list of the information, or the single job in this case that's over budget. So I can dig into, find a little more information about why it's over budget and update expectations as needed. Okay, so we'll just check in again, Jess. Anything you think would be useful to address on screen right now?
Nope, we're doing really good. There's been a couple questions that have come in that I've been able to answer, but other than that, nope, you're doing a great job.
Great, thanks for handling those, Jess. Okay, so our last tile on this dashboard is our task and time summary tile. So this is giving us information about due dates as well as estimated hours. So we can see we've currently got 125 open tasks, so that's in sort of assigned or in progress, tasks that are coming up that are due, and late tasks. So that's something, again, you can click in, see what our late tasks are, and maybe chase down those individuals and get an update from them. We can also then see, based on budgeted time, how many are within their estimated time, how many are approaching the estimated hours. So 5% of our tasks are approaching 80% of their hourly budget, and then 6% have gone over their estimated hours. And this, again, we have a data filter setting here, so we can see assigned by and to all staff, taking into account. Maybe I just want to see tasks that I've assigned and how people are doing with those. And then with percentage of budget, again, we have the option to update that. So if we want to know when tasks are halfway through their estimated hours, or maybe we don't really mind about monitoring that until they're up to 90. So you can really come in and configure these dashboard tiles to make sure that they're showing you the information that's most important and relevant to you, so that you really get the most use out of the information we're seeing here. Okay, so the next item I wanted to touch on were a couple of reports in the system that may also be useful when it comes to managing tasks and schedules. So I'll jump into our pre-built reports module first, and one that I wanted to take a look at is our staff task assignment report. So under tasks, we do just have our one task report, and if I open this up, it gives me some options to filter this report by. So right now it's showing me only tasks that have a due date of this week. Maybe I want to look at this month, so coming up but a little further out. You can also choose to search by a specific company, project, or job if you're just looking for information relating to that level of detail. It's by default only going to show us tasks for jobs with a status of open. Maybe if I wanted to look at recently closed jobs, I could also look retroactively at this report, but from a planning perspective, we're going to leave that for open. And also by default, it's only showing us active tasks, so those in assigned or in progress. You can choose to toggle on or off something like a task in draft status if you want to be aware of those as well. Okay, so I'll click submit there and it will bring up this report. It is a PDF report and it's a really good high-level look at the work you have on the go for the coming months. So you can see how many companies we're currently doing work for, how many jobs we're currently working on, the total tasks we have for this coming month. And then it gets a little more detailed for staff task totals. So I can see how many tasks are assigned and in progress for each individual. And then to get an idea of workload, I can see the total estimated hours taken up by those tasks. So I can see right now that Jess Bird is our busiest staff member for this coming month. So maybe if I get new tasks coming in, I'll assign those more to Beth or Brock to even that out. And looking at this more from a company or a client perspective, it breaks it down by the jobs, tasks, and hours estimated for each of these clients as well. So definitely a good depth of information in this report, but also at the top here, great at a glance. This is one of our pre-built reports. We do also recommend using those find routines for more of the custom information you want to take a look at. So we did take a look at our job find, but I will also give one more example of our task find. So we do have a combination of filters. You may also notice that this find page here looks a little bit different than what we saw in our jobs module. We are currently undergoing a UI refresh, so you'll see those changes roll out to more modules in the future, and we may see some layout changes coming up as well.
Hey, Laura, sorry to interrupt you, but could you just show how you got back to that report again one more time?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's under reports, and then the specific tab we'll find that under is task. And then just opening up this, and you can just set your parameters here, and then it will open the PDF in a new window for you. Okay, anything else I guess I should check in, Jess?
Nope, we're pretty good so far.
Yeah, and we're running very ahead of schedule, so definitely we'll have lots of time for questions at the end if they do come up. Okay, so on our task find page here, our layout's a little different, but so maybe I want to take a look at tasks that I have assigned. So I'll search by my assigned by fields. The date fields, I should maybe show this trick that is very useful if you're searching by a date range. So if I wanted to see tasks assigned by me coming up in December, I can put December 1, ... and then December 31st, and tabbing out, it will recognize that that's a date range, and as a result, bring up results only in that month. Okay, so I'm just going to search by assigned by me, and we'll see we've got quite a long list here. Maybe I'll search by due date. So we've got some coming up in December, mid-December to take a look at. And again, we can come in and manage columns. So maybe I want to take a look at my task description, and I'll drag that over by my task name. I may not mind about this assigned by, because we know these are all assigned by me, and we might not need all of this extra information. So we're just narrowing this down, so it's only showing us what's really useful for us to be taking a look at. And again, we can drag and drop these in any order that we'd like to view them in. So saving columns here, again, this might be a useful report to print out and take to a meeting with you, so you can provide or ask for updates on all of the tasks that you have assigned out to your team, and going back through and making notes for what needs to be updated and if any more tasks need to be added or adjusted there. Okay. So before we get into some of our forecasting options in the system, I'll just check in one more time. Jess, anything else coming through or anything you think I should be touching on?
You're doing great. If you could just slow it down a little bit, some people I think are trying to follow along and they just need a little more time to follow where you're going.
Yeah, absolutely. Good suggestion. Okay, so I'll try to dial it down a little bit here. So our next area we're going to take a look at are our two resourcing views. We do have the resources link that we've had for years, and then we have a newer view here called the work planning view. So both of these are going to, for now, show us similar information. I should mention that the work planning view is the first iteration of that new view. It was released mid-July, so right now our product team is gathering feedback on that view, and then we hope to see further iteration, bringing some of the functionality from the resources link over into that view and consolidating the two of them in the future. So starting with our work planning view here, I'll just give it a minute to load. Okay, so we'll see totals for allocated hours based on tasks for the role level as well as individual staff. So looking at our designers, we can see that today our designers collectively have 27 hours allocated to them based on the tasks assigned. Beth herself has 2 hours, and so on. The way that the work planning view handles those estimated hours is slightly different than our resource allocation view. So it's actually even loading the hours of a task over the days that are available to work on it. So for example, we've got November 1st to December 5th for this task, and it's got estimated 9 hours. So it's actually spreading that time over almost a month in this case of days. So there could be very little time allocated each day for this task because it is spread out, whereas the work planning view, or sorry, the resource allocation view is going to backfill those hours from the due date. So really that's not to say that Beth is working, 0.1 of an hour on this each day. It's to get an idea of workload. So it's really a forecasting view to look at spreading out the time allocated across the month. Can they take on more work? Which days can they take on more work? And then which days are they maybe over allocated that we need to move around some of those tasks? So for example, we can see that next Wednesday, Beth is allocated for 31 hours, which is definitely much over her, what we call her fully allocated hours at 8 hours a day. So that might be taking a look at these tasks and moving some of those over to our designers who don't have as many hours allocated throughout that time. Okay, and I should mention, although I don't have a draft task, pardon me, on this page, if you have tasks in a draft status, the work planning view will show them, it will just show them in that purple color. So with this, definitely any feedback you have about this view, feel free to send it through to ourselves via the question box, or if it comes up later, to success at Function Point, and that really does help our product team guide where they're going to take this view in the future. So for now, this is a read-only view, and if you're looking to do more tactical work, we would still recommend you use the resources link. So open that up next here, and the resources link is going to allow you to choose your date range, whereas our work planning view right now is just showing 30 days out from today's date. So right now I'm looking at really the next month anyway, and this depicts our hours a little bit differently. So it's showing still at the role level the allocated hours, but it's showing for each staff member colored bars to demonstrate how much time is allocated and how much time is available. So anything in red is where we can see our team is over allocated. Anything in green are the hours that are allocated to that staff member, and then gray is the hours available on that day for them. So we'll see with our tasks here, they do backfill. So if I had a task set for 8 hours on December 15th, it's going to say that Beth is working on that for 8 hours on December 15th, whereas when we're looking at that in the work planning view, it will have spread out those 8 hours across the dates that that task is set for. And the nice thing with the resources link right now is that clicking into a certain day will bring up a list of the tasks assigned to the individual on that date. So we saw Beth was a little bit over allocated, so maybe I'm going to move one of these tasks to our other designers. So let's take a look and let's move that over to Darren. We can make that change, click submit, and then it will have, or I'll just click refresh here, and we'll have moved some of that time over to our other designers. And we'll see that now. So any questions about either of the views here, Jess? I know right now we're flipping back and forth between two screens, but we do hope to see some changes to that in the future.
Yeah, so one of the things somebody was just questioning in terms of how we actually can populate so if you could just go to the work calendar and show people how you can put in actual stat holidays so then it's reflected on the work planning view.
For sure. Great point, Jess. Okay. So really to get the most out of both of those views, they are pulling information from the work calendar as Jess has mentioned. So we'll go to admin, system setup, and then it will be right at the bottom here, the work calendar. So the first tab we're looking at is our office hours, and I should note if you have multiple offices set up in your function point system, you can set hours for each individual office. So that's something to note just at the top there. So office hours, by default, it's showing 8 hours, 5 days a week. For this office, I can choose to carry those hours to all of my office staff right from here. But if I maybe have some people working part-time, I can get a little more granular with how much individuals are working. And as Jess was mentioning, the second step here is managing the holiday hours. So you can see we've got all of our statutory holidays and office closures entered. So let's see what we've got. We're very ahead of the game. We've got all the way up until July of next year. So we entered in, or I think our dates are a little off. I don't think we're taking New Year's Day next July, but that would be nice. So you'll enter in the date of your office closure. Let's say we're going to be closed on January 1st. Okay. There we go. We'll be closed on January 1st for 1 day. And that's going to be New Year's Day. And we're going to work 0 hours. So that's one thing to note. It's asking you here in holiday work hours how long you will be available to work on that day. So we'll set that to 0 hours. You could potentially enter in days that your office might be closed for a half day if you'd like. So that will now show that day is unavailable on both our resources link and our work planning view, and any task set for that specific day will show as over allocated, or if there's a task set for a week, it just won't apply any hours on that day. So it will take these holidays into account. And at an individual staff level, we can take a look and set specific hours for them. For instance, if Beth only works half days on Monday, I can come in and update that here. And you can also set personal holidays. So it's a good way to manage if someone's taking their week's vacation, entering that in here to make sure that that comes up as a bit of a red flag when you're looking at the work planning view, and it's showing them as over allocated for any tasks they have assigned to them that week. Okay, so anything else come up, Jess, that you think is worth covering here?
No, I think that's a good one. Somebody was just questioning, and again, how to move whatever you've done for the actual office hours over to staff. So I've just explained that the button should appear under the office hours page on the top right. And then just to click that button, it'll push that information over to all staff members as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So this carry hours to all office staff, pardon me, getting tongue-tied, will pull or push all of these hours over to your staff members, overriding any custom hours they may have entered there. Okay, so in today's webinar, we've gone through sort of searching for job data related to you, customizing your dashboard to make sure you're really taking a look at relevant information to help maybe guide meetings and follow-ups with your team as to what they're working on. We've also gone through some of our pre-built reporting and using that task find option for custom reporting and custom information. And then we've looked at our 2 current forecasting views. So that really is all the content we had today. We didn't have many questions come in, so I guess we can let everyone have a little time back in their day. Jess and I will stay on for about 10 more minutes just to see if any questions come through that we can continue answering. And of course, everyone who attended today will receive a recording of this webinar in their inbox. So while we're finishing up here, I will just launch a poll to see what you thought of this webinar, and this helps us with our planning for the webinars in the future. So I'll launch that now. If you have a moment to answer for us, that'd be great. Okay, I'm going to close that poll down now. Thank you so much for everyone that responded. I hope you all enjoyed the rest of your day. Thank you for joining us with our webinar, and hopefully we'll see you on January 10th for our next topic of retainers. Thanks so much.